What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay to daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, today I'm starting a bit of a new series, and what that is basically a Baltimore Ravens fantasy football outlook series, because I figured a lot of Ravens fans are probably also fantasy football fans, making that assumption. I'm a huge fantasy football fan, so I figured I could talk some Baltimore Ravens fantasy football draft strategy. Now, I just want to remind everybody, make sure to subscribe to the second channel. The content will be coming out late this week. That's in the description below if you want to check it out. TTB Gaming, if you're interested in seeing more content from Joshua and myself, and mostly the first kind of month or so, before the new Madden, before the new 2K come out, it's going to be kind of random videos, but just getting used to the editing. So, if you want to have input on the different games that we play and stuff like that, let us know, all that stuff. But let's get into it. The first Baltimore Ravens fantasy football outlook. And the first player I wanted to do it on was Rashod Bateman, kind of the newest Raven that I figured so many people would want to get on their teams. Now, obviously, this video is directed mostly towards Baltimore Ravens fans. This is a Baltimore Ravens channel. However, if you're not a Baltimore Ravens fan, you're just interested in, Rashod Bateman fantasy football outlook, welcome, I guess. But for the majority of you that are watching this video, you're Baltimore Ravens fans. And, speaking from experience, whenever I've played, I like to get players that I like. I don't want to get players that I dislike. And obviously, when you get a new player on your team, you want to draft them, because obviously most Ravens fans have very high hopes for their new players. We had very high hopes for Devin Duvernay last year. We had very high hopes for J.K. Dobbins last year. J.K. obviously panned out pretty darn well. And so we want to get these players on our team. However, it's not smart. And I think most people would recognize that playing hometown favorites isn't smart in a fantasy football setting. However, Rashod Bateman is a do not draft player, in my opinion. That does not mean he should not be on your fantasy football roster. I'm saying that he is a do not draft player. And why is that? It's because he's a rookie. And as a rookie coming into a system with a new quarterback, for Rashod Bateman, it's a new quarterback, and he doesn't have that chemistry built with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson obviously has chemistry built with Hollywood Brown. He's got chemistry with even J.K. now. He's got chemistry with Gus, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle. Whoever the Ravens have at third tight end spot will be a new piece. But, obviously you don't want to draft a third tight end on a football roster to be your fantasy football tight end unless you're in a really, really big league with a lot of tight end spots on the roster. But overall, Rashod Bateman he's the new guy on the block. Even Lamar even has chemistry with guys behind him, guys like Duvernay, guys like Miles Boykin, guys like even Prochet, who we don't even know if he's going to make the team. So Rashod Bateman has to come in, and we'll see how he performs. Now, I think Rashod Bateman will be a pretty darn good wide receiver. However, does that mean he will be very good fantasy-wise? I highly doubt it. Now, he can still put up very good stats. I expect him to be good towards the end of the year. So what does that mean? What is the strategy with Rashod Bateman? The strategy is to let somebody else draft him, and they will either drop him after 4 weeks, which is a very, very good possibility that they're just like, you know what, Rashod Bateman is not getting, a lot of receptions. He's getting me like 4 fantasy points a game. I mean, does anybody expect Rashod Bateman to come out and be a 100-yard per game wide receiver for the Ravens? I don't think anybody's expecting that in week 1. However, week 15, week 16, down the stretch, Lamar may have built up that chemistry with him, and he may start really going to him. But fantasy football, everybody plays so in the moment. So if you have a player that you maybe draft in the later rounds of the draft, and maybe they have a good week 1, and they get 25 points or whatever, and it's like, oh wow, and you don't expect that to continue. After week 3 or whatever, when he's killing Rashod Bateman in total fantasy points, you send a trade offer, and you don't play Rashod Bateman early. Okay, if you do end up drafting him, which I don't recommend, leave him on the bench. He's a massive wild card. You really don't know how he's going to perform. With rookies, it's very difficult. But with Rashod Bateman in particular, in a system that doesn't like to throw the football very much, which, obviously we hope changes. But also think about this. The other side to Rashod Bateman and maybe getting him later is I think many Ravens fans are expecting Greg Roman to be fired at some point in this season. And the date that I've put out there is week 5 after the Indianapolis Colts game. It's a possibility that he gets fired after that game. Will he get fired after that game? I can't say for certainty right now. However, there's a chance that he does get fired. If you acquire Rashod Bateman right after week 5 or whatever, week 5, week 6, maybe they fire Greg Roman, then all of a sudden that Rashod Bateman has a much better chance of being a dominant player. However, you just got to think about it in the long term. You can't overreact to different things. Then, which is funny because if you do end up drafting Rashod Bateman, don't trade him away after week 4, after week 5, when it seems like, oh, he's not really performing to the level that I was expecting. Why would he? Why would you expect a rookie wide receiver that would probably be the wide receiver 3 on a roster, in a roster that throws the least, for the team that throws the least amount to the wide receiver position? Why would you expect him to be performing very well? However, late in the season, obviously, he could get up to that level. So he could be a key piece in a playoff push. He could be your wide receiver 3. He could be your flex in a playoff push. However, don't expect Rashod Bateman week 1 to be Hollywood Brown in week 1. Because if you remember, week 2, Hollywood Brown wasn't amazing. Now, he had that, statistically amazing. There's a big difference between being a good football player and a good fantasy football player. Rashod Bateman is going to be a good football player week 1. He will. He will run crisp routes. He will get open. However, he probably won't get the statistics to back that up. Fantasy football is not the end-all, be-all if you look at fantasy points to how good somebody is, okay? Going to make that pretty clear. So when Rashod Bateman is playing well but not getting the statistics, people will get frustrated. They'll trade him away. Hollywood Brown in week 2 against Arizona his rookie year, he played pretty well. He had that great catch from Lamar that sealed the game. They had the screen pass that went to him early, and he was able to get outside. Then they did the fake screen and threw the wheel route to Mark Andrews for the touchdown. And it's like, boom, that's the type of stuff that everybody, loved to see out of Hollywood. However, statistically, it wasn't amazing. But as Ravens fans, we didn't care. We're not looking at it fantasy-wise. We're looking at it, did they win the game? Yes, they won the game because of Hollywood. He played very well. But Rashod Bateman will be similar in that aspect, in that he will be helping Hollywood to get more yards. He will be helping Sammy get more yards. He'll be helping the run game because they'll have to focus on Rashod Bateman. Like, so many things will be keying into it, and it won't be resulting in Rashod Bateman yards, but yards for other players. I will have different videos out on different players, that whether or not I think you should draft and how you should approach them in fantasy. So don't worry. If you ask me questions about Gus Edwards, ask me questions about J.K., Lamar, Mark Andrews, Hollywood, Sammy, all those types of players, I will definitely make videos on them. Let me know if you like this type of video, like the video. If you like the video, I'm not done with the video yet, but just it also depends on the type of players that you're playing with. If you are in Baltimore and you are playing in a league with all of your friends in Baltimore and you're all Ravens fans, don't even try. Don't even try for Rashod Bateman. Don't trade for him because it's going to be heavily overvalued. Because when you're a hometown team, you expect the people in the league to be playing, favorites, and their favorites are going to be Ravens players. And so if you are playing in a league like that, don't draft Rashod Bateman. You're going to get way better value at other spots. Rashod Bateman right now is looked at, as, according to fantasypros.com, he's overall 165, wide receivers, he's 59. And if you think about the wide receiver position, that's, not amazing. However, his highest is wide receiver 26 in terms of rankings, but his average is about wide receiver 60, which is, a margin, depending on your league size. It's definitely a roster spot player, but people like to draft him because, they think he could be good down the stretch. But when he disappoints early, that's when you go for him, unless you're in a Ravens league, because they will want way too much for Rashod Bateman. They will. They will be like, oh, you got to send me Amari Cooper, or you got to send me Devontae Adams. And it's like, no, that's not value. And I don't know how good Amari Cooper is going to be. I haven't looked into that, but just like a good football player on a very high potent statistical offense like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, those are the types of things where you have to think about the league you're playing in And you have to think about, what are you trying to do in this league? Are you trying to win, or are you trying to have fun? If you want to have fun and draft your favorite players, draft Rashod Bateman. Go for it. Draft him early. You'll probably lose your fantasy football league, but if you want to just have a good time and draft Ravens players, go for it. I'm not going to stop you, but if you're trying to win your fantasy football league, I wouldn't recommend drafting Rashod Bateman. If you really believe in him, I would try and trade for him after week 5 or so. Or week 4 would be a great spot, just because it would probably be before Greg Roman gets fired, and then his value goes up if Greg Roman gets fired week 5. But don't start him even if you do draft him. Wait until he starts getting, legitimate snaps. Maybe wait till after the bye week, and then maybe start playing him. But that's it for this video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. Let me know if you like these fantasy football outlooks. I want to do one for each player. There's not a lot of news going on right now. Training camp hasn't started and things like that. So coming out with different content. I figured most of you are probably also fans of fantasy football. If you're not, get into fantasy football. It's a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I will see all of you again tomorrow.